Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Boom.
Okay, cool. How do I make this full screen? Let's see here. These MacBooks, man. This is something else. View. Full screen. There we go. Okay. Speaker. There we go. Okay, cool. I'm only seeing Omar. All right. Where's the volume here? Can we hear everybody? Where's the volume of this thing? Let's go. All right. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Didn't know if the volume was working. All right, we're gonna get started in one moment. A little technical difficulties getting this MacBook up and ready here. Okay, cool.
Hey.
All right, here, let's see if anybody else is in the waiting room. Okay, we got Thomas, Jay. There you go. Who else are we waiting on over here? Someone outside? Okay, cool. All right, cool. I think we're all good then. All right, nice. All right, cool. So everyone, can you guys hear me okay? Pat, can you hear me? Let's see if I can hear you.
Sir, we're good.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, nice. All right, cool, guys. So like I said, just get everything set up. Great to see you guys today. Who we got? We got a bunch of people in the house. Nice. While I'm getting everything set up, low Q&A. Any questions you guys have so far? Anything specific you guys really want to cover today? I have a lot of stuff geared towards virtual presentation tips and more along the lines of POS. I know with March Madness, a lot of us are running POS leads. So while I'm getting everything set up, do you guys have any questions? I know we got some questions, so feel free to ask. Just about whatever.
I'll start, Matt. So sometimes when I'm calling for POS for, when they just have like a kid's policy, or if it's like the grandparents on like the grandkids and that, they only take X amount out on them. Like I'm having a little bit more, like hard time booking them, or like them seeing the importance, or like, oh, it's just my grandkids policy, like nothing's changing. And kind of go through, of course, the rebuttals and like if they were union, getting them out the new union benefits and, things of that sort, like the normal rebuttals. But is there any like tips or tricks of just getting their attention and knowing that it's like super important to get to them, even if it's for just their kids' policy or their grandkids?
Mm-hmm. So more along the lines, Christina, it seems like you're asking if someone has a policy just on a kid, a POS, or maybe just on a grandkid, and then like maybe the mom, the dad, or like the grandparents or the policy owners. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. And basically like, they'll just give a little bit harder of a time, like not seeing the importance of like doing a policy review. It's very like shut down. And I know like the typical, like rebuttals that we use and things of that sort, but how are you getting them to like see the importance? Like, yeah, this is your kid's policy. This is your grandkid's policy. That's exactly why we have to see you. And other than using like the normal, rebuttals that we use, like if it's a union, going back to like the updated union benefits, asking them about their freedom of choice. Do you remember that? Like if you're not getting them on those main rebuttals that we all use, where do you kind of grab their attention and showing the importance there?
Yeah, so good question. honestly, I don't treat it any different than any other POS, whether it's Joe and Mary, the parents that are both policyholders, or if you just see like little Joey, like an 8-year-old kid, and then obviously the owners like mom or dad. I treat it the same exact way, because you guys got to realize, and like when you call, obviously the kid's not answering, or the grandkid, you're dealing with the grandparent or the parents. So I treat it the same way. It's like, hey, Joe, this is Matt from American Income, your family's life insurance company. How are you doing today? So I kind of make them feel like it's like, even if it's not them, obviously it's their kid or their grandkid, whatever that may be, you're still talking to the parents. So I treat it as if like, hey, Joe, this is Matt from American Income, your family's life insurance company. How you doing? And by starting it off like that, they're the one that pays the bill. So they're not thinking whose policy it is. Do I have a policy, this, or that? All they know is they pay a bill every single month to American Income. And we're the life insurance company for their family. When you talk, like most people realistically, and this is honestly a really good line to use when people are giving me a hard rebuttal. And this could be answering this question or anything else. This is kind of like Mario Jairo, one of like the top producing managers. He put up like 150K in a month. I think a couple months ago, like when virtual started kicking off, he asked people, like, if they're giving him a hard time, like, okay, well, I'll tell you what, Joe, let me ask you a question. Do you know exactly what you have in detail, or are you just sending in the bill every month? No one knows what they have. I don't care how educated they are. I don't care how smart they are or how much they pay attention, and even if they read their life every day. They don't have it in detail. They may know they have term, but guess what? There's waiver of premium, there's accidental, there's term. Most people have hospital policies that our agent doesn't sell, but we need to still be educated on them and how they work, so we can explain to the client when we're doing their policy to get analyzed. To kind of go back, number one, can you guys
freezing up, Hans?
Andres asked, tell you what, Joe, every month. Honestly, it might make them like you're more human. It makes them actually understand, like, okay, maybe it is a good idea to do a policy, because all I know is right. I'm just sending in $50 a month. I don't even know. Maybe I should figure out what's when I die, Matt Jans, can you hear us? I see you moving over here. Everyone else looks frozen. Yeah, it's cutting out a little bit. Yeah, everyone in the office here, turn the Wi-Fi off on your phones.
Someone have a hotspot?
I do. Do you know how I do it on the Mac?
Yeah.
Do you want to assist me real quick? 1 second. We're gonna get the hotspot going here. We'll make this easy. We'll set that up.
Tech guy coming in.
Is yours up right now?
X out of it real quick. Okay. Hold on. Wait, no, X out. Okay, give it a minute. Okay, try now. There it is.
And then
MATT. HUNS.
Same thing, like at home.
All right, cool. I think we're good. All right. Is that a little bit better? Can you guys still hear us okay?
It's not gonna be on there because you're off the Wi-Fi.
What does that mean?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Same network.
Okay. We're all good though. You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah, much better.
All right, cool. You guys are good. Don't worry about it. All right, cool. So just to reiterate, because I know we're cutting out there, I'm on the hotspot, so we should be fine. But yeah, so basically, guys, like we were saying, 2 things. For the question Christina asked, when a policyholder, you're calling them, and it's not the parents. It's just a kid policy. You don't even know what the parents have. At the end of the day, when you meet with them to do their review, their policy review, you're plugging in everything that the parents have. So like I'll even tell that, to them over the phone. If they're giving me like a hard time, I ask that question, number 1, Joe. Extra. Playing basketball over here. Okay, thank you, Steven. All right, so sorry about that, guys. Number 1, I asked that question. Now, Joe, do you guys know exactly what you have in detail, or are you just sending in the bill every month? That'll usually make them laugh a little bit and kind of makes them understand, like, listen, doing a policy review would make sense. I haven't even looked at this thing in 5 years. Makes sense why they're trying to do this. Number 2, for you, Christina, like I said, I introduced it as your family's life insurance company. And as the owner, I kind of treat it as if it is their policy. I mentioned their son, like I'll definitely say like, hey, we're actually, looks like they're up for their policy review for your son, Lucas, which obviously as the owner, we got to make sure we get this taken care of for you and your husband, Mary. So I treat it the same way. Typically, I don't get that a whole lot. Christina, let me ask you, what's like the biggest rebuttal you think you've been getting in that situation?
So I always just still say like your life insurance company. I'm not really specifying that it's the kids, but I'm getting more of like, they know that that they only have the coverage for their kid, or they only have it for the grandkid. And they're like, oh yeah, we're not changing anything. It's fine. And then I'm going back through and I'm like, oh, no problem. Totally fine. But like these are things we have to do. This is what we're going to get set up for you. If it's union, I'm referencing that. And I'm like, oh, let me ask you, you're part of the union, right? Okay. We've actually updated, we have to get out, these new union benefits for you as well. It'd be a disservice not to do that for you going through, but it's a lot of times they're just so stuck on, they've seen someone, they've done a review, they don't want to see anyone else. They don't want to change their coverage. They've been, they sat down with someone and this and that. And as much as I'm saying like, oh yeah, but this, that was actually, the sales team, that's actually not me. I'm just quality control. My job is blah, 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 going through that. But even with that, I'm getting a little bit rebuttal. And again, it's situational. It's not every time, but I'm just noticing I don't really have trouble booking POS unless that's the situation, because they're sometimes just closed off to even wanting, it's not them, or they're not changing anything. They don't see the importance of setting aside the time.
Yeah, so honestly, that's a good point. You said that. And you're right. That's usually like my last resort. Because by that point, once I say that, that's when they really start to understand. Like, oh, you were seen a couple years ago, right? Oh, okay, Joe, that actually makes sense. Because the first time around, they send one of our benefits representatives, like our enrollment specialists, out to see you to deliver your benefits, and then obviously enroll you into your additional permanent life insurance. And then, a couple years goes by, 3-4 years, and then one of our servicing managers are actually in the area, like myself. My job is actually to perform like your policy review, because once you get in contact with us, our job is to get you finalized, so you won't really have to be contacted again. So that's kind of the idea. It's like separating yourself from like a union benefits representative. Like, Joe, that's a great question. I tell them, I'm not one of like the sales representatives. I'm one of the servicing managers. My job isn't to deliver like any of the no cost benefits or play any of those videos for you. My job is actually just to service our existing policies to get you caught up with the other members. That way we don't got to worry about this again anymore. And you guys know exactly where you stand, so you know what the future of your policy looks like. Does that make sense? So like I'm separating it from more of like an initial meeting that they first had to go over life insurance and to get them the life insurance. So like what we're doing is, this is like probably like the last time someone should see you, because the servicing manager's coming in to just refresh you, get you your updated claims forms, and most importantly, is show people how to file their death claim. A lot of POS I run into, they don't even remember the freedom of choice certificate, or some of them don't even have it. So like you can use statistics to kind of help you get your foot in the door as like a servicing manager, especially using the death claim. explaining like the $1.71 billion worth of life insurance money that went unclaimed since 2013 alone. That's one of the main reasons, obviously with our strict A+ ratings with the union, they have to make sure that when a servicing manager is in the area, that we get you squared away and caught up with the other members. So you know exactly where you stand, exactly what the future of your policy looks like. Because honestly, Joe, looks like the last time one of my guys or girls was actually out to see you was about 3 years ago, right? Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's exactly why they had me giving you a call. You haven't been seen in 3 years since you put this policy in place. My job is now not the salesman or saleswoman, right? Servicing manager to come in and kind of separate myself. No, to kind of do your review. Another thing too, and that's a really good question, Christina. That kind of leads me into like a lot of the main points I want to go over today. Because I know a lot of us from March Madness, we're starting to get POS. Even newer people that just came in the agency, like a lot of us are starting to get POS, which is really cool because typically you don't see POS frequently as a new agent. Usually it takes a couple months to get some sales under your belts and crush the will kits and the child safe kits and work your way up through the unions before you're able to service our policyholders. Because as you guys know, that's kind of our bread and butter. They already bought the company, they already bought someone before, and they're paying us money every single month. So you don't want to go in there and kind of piss them off. You got to sometimes go in there and just put your customer service cap on and not sound salesy. And that's usually the biggest thing. Like you want to be very, like Gio always says, you got to be like even-handed, level-handed. Like when I go in as a servicing manager, I refresh them on like who we are. I kind of resell them on like their company, but it's not really salesy. It's more educational. And I'm just kind of walking them through everything they have, showing them how their layoff and strike waivers work, make sure they know how to file their death claim as a servicing manager would. And by the time I get to the end, they sell themselves. Because I tell them like, Joe, we have to get you finalized today. Last time we're out here was 3 years ago. It's nothing wrong you guys did. You did a great job getting your foot in the door way back when. But obviously there are still some serious gaps here, by the time our needs analysis is done. And at that point, myself, I know not everybody uses a whiteboard. Some people use the computer. I really like using the whiteboard because I feel like it makes it really personal. And when I'm doing it, they look themselves and they can clearly see that there's gaps. That's why I say as a POS, you don't really got to sell. Like as long as you go in with a lot of control, and honestly, I dress up. I wear collared shirts. I don't wear a polo or khakis or anything like that when I deal with a policyholder. It's completely different. It's like what a benefit rep wears. Policyholder, I'm dressed up. A lot of us on this call are really young. Most of us don't even have facial hair. I barely have any, but you want to look older, obviously. So dressing up is really going to help you, especially if you're presenting yourself as a servicing manager. You don't want to look raggedy with like a rough polo on, just like a benefits rep would, dealing with Union Joe. You got to bring some more professionalism with you, because what it's all about is building a lot of credibility from like the start, like making sure you kind of start off really strong as the servicing manager. Because if you do that, you're not really going to have a problem throughout the sit. They're going to go, wow, I'm glad this person came because I didn't remember anything about the company before. He resold me on why the union company is really great. And now he's not even selling me anything. He's just educating me on what I have. By the time you get to the end, they sell themselves. They see that they're not where they're at. I tell them it's nothing wrong. You did a good job getting your foot in the door. I start like assuming that they did the right thing, but I make them like, I assume that they got started. Like I don't make them feel like when they first got it, they got everything. Like that's the last thing you want to do. You don't want to make them, I don't want to sound like you don't want the client to feel good about what they bought. You have to reassure them that they did the right thing, but when they got their foot in the door. It's like when you first were seen 4 or 5 years ago, you did the right thing getting started. Our job today is to get you finalized so that we never have to worry about this again. And the idea is that you kind of upsell them because you cover all their gaps. And realistically, they should never have to be seen again after a couple of years goes by and a servicing manager, is in the area, getting them finalized. So maybe any other questions, kind of leading off. That was a really good question, Christina. Maybe anyone from in here regarding POS before I kind of keep going through?
Do we still do you still read the mandatory read off letter and like your so basically, or do we kind of just not do that because they can up their coverage whenever?
It's a good question, Tommy. I don't do the mandatory read off letter or the so basically. The reason is because it's not really on like an enrollment, you know, kind of like how like the unions are. Because you're right, policyholders can. I'm really glad you asked that question because it's a really good point. When you're sitting with unions, they're portrayed as like, this is your enrollment period. Like, we're not in the area very long. Like, while we're out here, we sit down with you, we go through everything, make the decision, you know, like, and it's laid out so they have enough education so they can. But for Tommy, question he asked was the read off letter. So basically, I don't do those because it's not like an enrollment basis. They can do whatever they want. So instead of like dealing with that problem of not doing that and them getting the rebuttal, I just proactively beat it from the very, very start. And that's all from separating yourself from a benefits representative to a servicing manager. Basically, like, I tell them, like, the reason I'm out here today is to get you finalized. You know, you had a benefits rep see you a couple years back. That's great. My job is to service your existing policy and get you finalized so that we never have to worry about this again. And I'll be your point of contact from here on out. You know, we'll be taking you off the calling list. Like, you really just put the idea out there that it is like their final policy review. Like that, if you portray it like this will be like the last time you're going to be seen, because the idea is, if you do come in there as a servicing manager and you educate them properly and you show them the exact amount of coverage they need, if you sell them and you get them up to where they need to be, they don't have to worry about this again. So if you do that properly and you set yourself apart from the jump, that, you know, after today, you know, this is kind of like your final review. Like, there's not really another reason you'd be seen by anybody else in the company. My job is to show you exactly what you have, show you what the future of your policy looks like, and just plug in everything that we all currently have. You know, that's to Joe, that's to Mary, that's for the kids. I tell them up front, we plug in everything that we all currently have to make sure that you guys are in a good spot today. And if you set that up really well from the start and you paint the picture that, like, this is the last time they're going to be seen. They sent these benefits representatives. They sent like this guy here. 2 years later, they sent this guy. Another year later, they sent this guy. But now it's like the captain kind of comes in after all the years, like the servicing manager. You know, after all the benefits representatives, I like to use the word, like, after those benefits representatives saw you, those are the enrollment specialists. Once you're seen by them every couple years, and a servicing manager's in the area, their job is to get you finalized. So more or less, Tommy, the idea is, like I said, if you set it up in the beginning right, and you paint the picture that, like, there should not be a reason that we ever come out here again today, because we're going to get you finalized. By the time you get to the end and you properly show them where they need to be and like where they're at, you don't got to sell. They visually see the gap and they're going to do it. Because POS are very easy to close, because, like, as a POS, it does not make sense. You can be very direct with them. It does not make sense for a POS to think about it. Like, you already have a policy and you're here. Joe, we know we got to be at here, but when the first time, you know, we already saw you 5 years ago, and instead of getting all the way to where you need to be, you got your foot in the door. Joe, 8 years has passed and we're still not where we need to be. So now that the final servicing manager came in, we're going to get you finalized and get you the coverage you need. Because honestly, Joe, you're never going to be younger, healthier, and more affordable than you are right now. We already know, Joe, we're at a pivotal point in our age and our health when it comes to our insurance, and this price is not guaranteed. But more importantly, the only thing that's really not guaranteed is our health. You know, with life insurance, guys, you know, we pay for it with money. You're right, Joe. But honestly, that doesn't mean anything. Money's just a tool. We pay for the life insurance with money. The thing that buys it is our health. And that's the one thing we can't guarantee. So like if it took us 8 years to finally get out here to see you again for like your final review, what actually makes us think that we're going to find the time to bump us up to where we need to be at some point before it's too late? And by the time another manager, servicing manager, is actually out in the area to see you. So basically, Tom, like I said, a lot of it is proactively done by the why we're there and like the setup for me. Just paint the picture. We've been in the area for this amount of time. You know, we're kind of leaving the area soon, you know, because we have more families to get finalized. Once you kind of see us, we're going to get you finalized. You know, you really shouldn't be seen after today. It's been 8 years. They know how long it's been. So if you set that up proactively, you get to the end, and Joe and Mary, they're going to be looking at each other like, we can't afford to wait 8 years. Look how expensive it is right now. We know we need it. You know, that's the great thing. Policyholders, they know they need the coverage. They need that little nudge to finally, you know, get to where they need to be. Because they knew they wanted to go with option A or the gold option, whatever our different teams are doing, doesn't matter. They know they wanted to go with the high option 8 years ago, but they weren't ready. They wanted to think about it. So they got their foot in the door, right? Now, there's no way that Joe and Mary are going to tell me 8 years went by and they're still not ready to get where they need to be. Listen, Joe, like I said, it took us 8 years to see you. You know, we got to get you finalized today. We're never going to be younger, healthier, or more affordable than we are right now. So it just really comes down to which option makes the most sense for you, but which one's going to fit your family's needs the best as well today. Another thing, guys, just a side note that just kind of reminded me. I don't know if we're doing this, but we need to be doing this for POS, Union, Heart, whatever it is. We need to be saying the word today like 50 times, just like how Gio and everyone else teaches us that we need 50 tie downs, right? A tie down, for anyone who doesn't know, is, does that make sense? Joe, Mary, does that make sense why the union, they saw this as a huge area of concern? Like, you need to get those little yeses, because if you're getting 50 yeses throughout the presentation, when you lay out options, no one's going to say no. Yes, it makes sense 50 times. When I get to the options, no one's going to say, no, that doesn't make sense. So to add on to that, to kind of juice it up and really start becoming assumptive, and this is where professionalism kicks in. Like, our job is to sell life insurance. If we walk into the home and we're not being assumptive and we're not treating it like we're going to sell them life insurance today, it feels like we're beating around the bush. So it's more professional when you're very direct. People like to be straight shooters. I'm not saying I don't fluff things up, build a lot of rapport, and kind of build the value, but I'm very direct. And the more direct you are, the more people are willing to listen, because they know you're not there messing around. Especially when you're painting the picture as a servicing manager, you're not there to fluff things up. You're there to kind of tell it how it is. So my point is, same thing with tie downs, saying 50 tie downs throughout the presentation. When you're doing those, you got to say today a lot, like 30, 50 times. Now, instead of saying, Joe and Mary, does that make sense? I would say, now, Joe and Mary, does that make sense why the union has to make sure we cover the mortgage for our family today? Okay, great. Now, Joe and Mary, does that make sense why the union, they see the funeral and final expense as a huge area of concern, and why they have to make sure we cover that for us today while we're out here? Just following along the picture that you painted in the beginning, you're telling the same story throughout the whole pitch. If you come off very direct, very assumptive that we're getting you enrolled today, and you treat it throughout the whole presentations, getting those tie downs, does that make sense why we have to do this today? And they're agreeing. They're saying, yes, yes. Those are little buy-ins. You get to the end, Joe's like, I want to think about it. Like, what do you mean, Joe? We've been saying we got to do this today all day. What do you mean you want to do it tomorrow? There is no tomorrow. We're not going to be here. So a lot of the things, guys, that we do, and I stress this with our team a lot, with obviously American Income and sitting out with our families, we don't practice solving problems. Like you don't want to be really good at getting a lot of problems or a lot of objections and learning how to overcome them. You're going to learn how to do that over time, which is great. But when you start becoming very successful and being able to write very consistent business, instead of learning all the objections, the rebuttals, and how to deal with problems, you just learn how to proactively beat them so they don't even come up. Like a lot of times I don't have to close, or I don't get a lot of, I want to think about it, or I can't afford it. It's because you built up the value or you built up the urgency that we got to do it today. And like Tommy mentioned, with our unions, if you have a really good read-off letter and a really good, so basically, what you're doing is you're proactively setting the stage and getting them to agree that they need to make a decision today before you even show them options. Because if I get them to agree the entire presentation, it's like by the time I get to the close, they know they need it and they know they want it. But sometimes they just try to test you and they ask, like, do I got to make that decision today? You can't budge. That's a big thing I noticed with a lot of us. Like we hesitate, and this is kind of the idea of like not being very direct and kind of fluffing things up because we're like, we don't want to make them mad because we're in the close. This is where your professionalism comes in, and you straight up with them. Yes, Joe. Like I said, this is done on an enrollment basis, just like your letter said, from your president. And I'm like right back to the close. Like if you're very direct or loud and you're confident when you're telling people this, they go, okay. And then they just agree with you and they move on. But if you sit there and you're like, well, I mean, I'm not really supposed to, but I could call you back. If you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile, and then your sale's gone, which sucks. But more importantly, they didn't get their life insurance that they need because we got a little soft at the end. So more or less, that kind of tangent was basically saying the idea is, guys, and I know Gio covered it. I think actually no, you covered it in the training class. He went over the upside down triangle with starting off the presentation like really, really strong, building great rapport, building great control. If you do that from the start and your start of your presentation is flawless, your pitch is easy and they just pick an option. Has everybody on this call seen like the upside down like triangle? Everyone on here as well? Okay, cool. I was saying, I know Gio stresses it. I know he's went over it a lot, but honestly, guys, it's kind of as simple as that. If we can start off confident, strong, a lot of control, a lot of great rapport, and we're proactively beating these things by telling them that we have to do it today and getting tie downs, 30, 40, 50 of tie downs and saying we got to do it today throughout the whole pitch, watch your closes just go up. You're not going to get people to tell you I want to think about it ever. Because by the time you get to the very end, Joe and Mary, they don't even have words. They're like speechless. They're like, it's like you stumped them. It's like, I would like to tell this guy no, just to kind of see what he says, but like, it just made too much sense. Like, I already know, like every answer every question I'm going to ask him, he already answered for me. So like, he's right. All I got to think about is which option to pick. Like, that's really how it goes. Like, the idea is, like I said, you want to really get good at proactively beating things so that you don't have to rebuttal and don't have to deal with options. But at the same time, guys, I'm not giving anyone the leeway to basically not know your closes or not know your rebuttals. You still have to know those. Myself, everyone, managers, we still got to rebuttal people and, answer their questions for sure. But the more that you can proactively beat it, the easier your pitch is and the higher chance you're going to close them. So does that make sense? Any questions on kind of like proactively beating anything or anything, any questions maybe along those lines before we kind of keep going? Just a couple other things I'm going to go through with you guys.
Yeah. Could you kind of like, I know with the referrals, like referral kind of be different than a union, but either way, I know with the referral, this is like the only time we're going to be able to see you. But can you kind of like incorporate what you said with the referral? I know it's kind of the same thing, but.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So Matt Jans asked basically like how to build up the sense of urgency the same way you would for a union family for like their brother or a referral, whatever. Discount card, child safe, beneficiary, it doesn't matter. The idea is same thing. When you're painting the picture and you're starting the presentation, you're telling them like why we are literally at your house today or why we're on a Zoom call, is you let them know whatever the referral is. If it's a discount card, that's like the main reason, right? Like that's like your foot in the door. It's a child safe kit, that's like your foot in the door. But number one, over the phones, this is something we should proactively tell them. So they should already have a really good idea of what we're going to cover over the phones, so that when I go into their house, I use the discount card or child safe, whatever the referral was for, as the main reason why I'm out there to see you. The two other things I tell them, number one, and this was from Natalie Linker, for you guys that were on the, I don't know, it was like probably 3-4 weeks ago when she talked to our agency, probably a month ago on one of our agency calls. She also met with the managers prior to kind of give us some juice on like referrals and how to collect them, because she was at an agency where they got 30 leads for the month and they were expected to run 80 presentations. So not getting referrals was not an option. If you didn't get referrals, you didn't get paid. And that was the mentality they had. So they developed really great ways to collect referrals and sit with them. More or less, one of the biggest things that I took from her is when she starts to go into why we're there, like if I'm talking to Joe, he's the brother of Union Bob over here. I'm telling Joe and his wife, Mary, like, hey, I'll tell you guys what, before we actually get started today, you guys are definitely going to, want to go ahead and thank your brother, Bob, for actually sponsoring you into this program. Because obviously we're going to get you out that discount card today that they had to make sure that you got. But honestly, you should definitely thank your brother, Bob, because typically you would never have access to these benefits because we only work with unions, roughly 30,000 different unions and groups, and we're directly contracted through them to provide their additional permanent benefits and their no-cost benefits as well. And since your brother sponsored you into those today, you, Bob, and your wife, Mary, are going to actually have access to the same program that you would never normally have access to. So yeah, you should definitely give your brother Joe, you should thank him after this meeting. Right off the bat, you're kind of setting it up on a really good note. Like you're making them, it's like you're buttering them up. They start to feel really good. Like, wow, I haven't talked to Joe in like 2 weeks. Well, I'm glad he thought of me, and you're making it a very exclusive right from the jump. Like you're making them realize, like Matt Jan says, like, we're not in the area. Like there's actually no reason, we would actually be out here to see you if it wasn't for your brother sponsoring you into his program, because we're normally dealing with 30,000 different unions and groups. I just promised your brother, Joe, that if these benefits made sense to you today and we can qualify, we would absolutely have to make sure we get you taken care of today. Because typically this is done on like an enrollment basis with the union families that we're normally taking care of every single day. So if that makes sense, we would definitely have to get you squared away. Because honestly, Joe, if it wasn't for your brother, Jim, sponsoring you in, there's actually not really any other reason we'd be coming back out here. So that's really the two things I kind of use to build up the exclusiveness. Number one, from Natalie Linker, using the thank you line. Like telling the sponsor or the referral that them and the wife or whoever it may be, before we get started, because they already have an idea about the benefits, right? Because you proactively told them over the phone that they're getting the discount card, but they're also going to have access to the same union program that obviously Joe, had access to as well. So by proactively saying that on the phone, they have a good idea of what you're going to be talking about in the presentation. So they're waiting for it. It's like the suspense is built. They're just ready for you to tell them like exactly what the benefits are, because you're not really going into it too much detail on the phone. So when you get there, they know they're getting something. They don't know what it is. And then before you even give it to them, you're like, hey, I'll tell you what, you should really thank your brother, Jim, for sponsoring you in. Because honestly, Joe, if it wasn't for your brother thinking about you, I know he said you were very close with each other. You and your wife, Mary, would never have access to these benefits. We're strictly contracted by roughly 30,000 different unions and groups. And we don't work with the general public, right? So right off the bat, you're setting it up really strong and you're buttering him up, making them feel really good. Wow, my brother's thinking about me. That's great. Number two, you're building it up the exclusiveness. That like, listen, Joe, this isn't a thing you can call me. You can call something like, no. Like, this is a one-time thing, and I'm telling you right from the jump. So when you do that, it's off to a good start. I know a lot of us have different why we're there's, but more or less, you tell them why we're there, which is the outline of what your presentation is going to consist of. And then at the end, for some of us that maybe aren't doing this, I always throw in there the line about there's not really another reason we would see you. And I just reiterate it. Joe, like I said, if these benefits make sense and we can qualify, we would absolutely have to get you squared away today, because this is done on an enrollment basis with the union families that we're normally busy taking care of. Like I said, I promised your brother Joe, if this made sense and we can qualify, we would definitely get you squared away today. Because honestly, Joe, after today, there's not really any other reason we'd be coming back to this area. Does that make sense? Is that fair enough? Right? So you set it off on a good note, build up the exclusiveness, makes him feel good about his brother. You tell them why we're there, and then you kind of take it away, right? Like I'm upfront with people. Like, we got to do it today. It's an enrollment basis. And then at the end, I always use the I promise line. I promised your brother. I promised your mom. And I'm not like lying there. Like, I'm not just saying those words. This is another thing with being direct. When you sell someone or you don't sell someone and you get referrals, don't just get their contact info and leave it at that. That's how you make people mad. You want to be direct. When you get referrals, basically be upfront with them. I'm going to call them and make sure I get them on my schedule so I can get them out the discount card. Don't just tell them you're going to call them and send it out. Joe, I'm going to call your brother. That way I can make sure I get him on my schedule before it gets filled up with the rest of the union families we're busy taking care of. So by doing that, number one, you're not going to, if you go and sit with the referral and you don't sell them, they're not going to talk to each other and be pissed. Because I was very upfront when I collected the referral, letting them know I'm going to call them and I'm going to set them on my schedule. And then when I do set them on the schedule, I build up the exclusiveness that we're busy dealing with people like his brother and the other unions. So if this makes sense, we got to do it today. There's not a reason we'd be coming back out here. We're busy taking care of these other families. And I'm not saying it in like a rude way. You just have to be blunt with people, but you got to be professional. If you're being professional and you're very direct, people don't question you, and it kind of takes out a little fluff. Like it usually gets your point across when you're being very direct. Like most people, especially the union type of guys and girls we're dealing with, they're very direct. They're straight shooters. So I'm not saying don't fluff things up and build a lot of great rapport. You got to do that. But when you're talking business, be direct with people. People respect it. I think Edgar popped in and out like 3 times. Let's get him back in. Let's see if he connects here. But all right, cool guys. We can hold off maybe a couple more questions here. Maybe the last 5 minutes. We only got 15 minutes left. And there's 3 more things I want to go through for you guys. Cool. All right, so we're just completely transitioning. A lot of what we talked about so far is POS. I did this with my team the other day, and we booked way more appointments ever since we did this. So number 1, we're talking about phones now. This could be POS. This could be union, child safe, hardcore, whatever. I don't care. Beneficiaries, referrals. You need to do this for absolutely everybody. If we're not doing this and you're getting no-showed, this is why. We're not solidifying correctly. Joe, do you see any reason why that wouldn't work for you and Mary? Oh, I mean, that'll probably work unless, they hold me over for work. Okay, great. Well, sounds good. I'll keep you there. I'll see you then. That's a no-show. You shouldn't even put that on your schedule. You should know by now, if you've been here a couple months, that you're wasting your time. So this is my point of being very direct. I solidify and I make sure my team solidifies 3 times. And when I say 3 times, I mean, I need a verbal yes. I will be there 3 times. Whatever it is, union, beneficiary, the phrases change up a little bit. And I'll go over like 2 of them with you, but this is for a union. And it doesn't even have to be verbatim. The idea is you just need them to agree 3 times that you're going to be there, because it shows that you're professional, you're busy, and you take this very serious. So number 1, once they're booked, everyone has their own scripts, doesn't matter. At the very end of the call, this should be the last thing you say, and you repeat it 3 times. Now, Joe, perfect. Looks like we got you locked in the schedule for tomorrow, Saturday the 27th, anytime between 5 and 6. Before I let you go, I have to make sure, do you see any reason right now why either you or your wife, Mary, would not be able to attend this benefits meeting tomorrow, anytime between 6 and 7? No, Matt, I think that'll be fine. Okay, great. I have to make sure, because honestly, Joe, I'm a man of my word. I do sit down with up to 10 different union families a day, but I promise you, and I give you my word, that I'll definitely, with my busy schedule, still make it to that meeting for you and your wife, Mary. On the flip side, I need to have your word that you'll definitely be there as well with your wife. Do I have your word? I do? Okay, great. And like I said, Joe, I just have to make sure, because if I lock you into my schedule and we miss you, unfortunately, that means we're missing another one of these union members from your local 250 that has been waiting to receive their benefits and get caught up as well. So I have to make sure Saturday, anytime between 6 and 7, that's definitely going to work for you and Mary. Okay, great. Well, sounds great, Joe. Like I said, I got you locked in the schedule for tomorrow. I hope you have a great night. I look forward to putting a face to the phone call. See you then. Yeah, Shayla.
I feel like too, it's really important now.
Can you talk a little louder so they can?
Yeah, I feel like what I've also just like noticed that helped me is like send them the email right when you're talking to them. Because a couple of times, I don't know if it's just lack of communication or maybe miscommunication, but I haven't gotten the right emails, and you know, they wouldn't answer the phone after that. So now like I'll ask them as I'm talking to them, say, oh, you got that, right? Just to make sure. So they can't say, oh, they never got it.
Yeah. 100%. And hopefully you guys are able to hear her. If we're not doing this, I would be upset, because that's another reason why we're not probably getting seen. You have to send people the email if you're doing virtual. Send them the email. Tell you what, Joe, I just got everything input in the system for you. Go ahead and check your email for me. I have to make sure that this was delivered and received on your end. Not one time on a phone call do I say thank you, or I ask them a question like, can you go ahead and grab me a pen and piece of paper? Would you be able to do this for me? No. You are the instructor. Okay, great, Joe. I got you locked in the schedule for tomorrow, anytime between 6 and 7. Go ahead and grab me a pen and piece of paper. I have some very important information I need you to write down. I'll get you off the phone. I know a lot of us were super nice. I'm nice too, but being nice on a phone is going to get you hung up. I'm not saying you're being rude. You just have to take it seriously. If you just go on a phone and they're just hey, how's it going? Yeah, I got a benefits package for you. What time do you want to meet? What does your schedule look like? You can't do it till next month? Well, all right. You need to go in there and tell people what's up. This is how it goes. Joe, that's great. I'm going to figure out your schedule for you. So I give you 2 times that I know already fit your schedule. What's going to work best? After I already proactively picked apart their whole schedule, I gave them a time that they can't even say no to, because I know what they're doing from the start of the day to the night before I even provide them times. So that's another way to proactively not pick a time. I already know what Joe's schedule looks like, so I know when I give him his times, he has to pick one, because he's just going to sit there you got me. I just told him I don't got anything going on. Damn. So he picks. But like I said, once they pick a time, I'm not saying not be nice. I'm not saying be rude by any means, but you just have to take it seriously. Don't be soft. Be like, can you go ahead and grab me a pen and piece of paper? Joe, would you be able to do that for me? They're just going to say no every single time. Every single time. They're just going to cut you off. So just get it and treat it very seriously. Okay, great. Go ahead and grab me a pen and piece of paper. Like that. Phone calls shouldn't be that long. People want to be quick anyway. You're very direct. You're very professional. You're loud. They're just going to listen. They're going to just be running around. Okay, yeah, where's this pen? This crazy guy from my insurance and my union is calling. He needs me to do this and that. You get people to start doing things for you, that's a good indicator that you've done good with control. And that's a good way to book a lot of appointments. But that was a good point, Shayla. Make sure you're sending them the email and you make them check the email first. But once again, guys, like I said, I don't know if we've been doing it or not. I know solidifications are a little bit different. I don't care if we say it verbatim to what I said or not. It doesn't matter. But I promise you, if you solidify 3 times, your show ratio is going to go up. Because number one, it's going to make them realize that this is not a joke. It is not okay for you to miss this appointment. Like, it's a big problem if we miss you, because we probably won't see you again. Like, that's the way you got to treat it for them. You know, we've been servicing all these members in your area for quite some time now. You were just one of the last members we had to get caught up with before they ship us to our next area, which means our new lead pack, right? Especially when we weren't virtual and we were in the field and we had all these leads assigned to one area. Guess what? If we didn't see someone, our next lead pack was an hour this way, they are not making us drive 3 hours back to see one family that wanted to think about it or didn't want to book to get their benefits. That's on them. So think of that when you're booking these people. Don't let them run away, say, let's do it a month from now. No, Joe, we got to do it now. Very important. Simple as that. Just don't budge. That's the biggest thing. A lot of us are really nice and we kind of let people get the best of us instead of just shutting the door on people. Because if you shut the door on people, it just ends all the problems that we're dealing with that we don't have to deal with. It just shut the door. They go, okay, I understand. Let's do this time. Like I said, if you give someone an inch, they're going to take a mile. But like I said, guys, just to reiterate one more time for everyone who's taking notes, 3 solidifications I do, and we'll move on. Number 1, Joe, do you see any reason why either you or your wife, Mary, would not be able to attend your benefits meeting tomorrow anytime between 5 and 6? No, Matt, we'll be available. Okay, great. I just have to make sure, Joe, like I said, we sit with up to 10 different union families a day. With as busy as we are, I give you my word. I'm a man of my word that I'll definitely be there to see both you and Mary tomorrow, anytime between 6 and 7. On the flip side, I just need to have your word that you guys will definitely be there as well. Do I have your word? Second solidification. And number 2, you just got the man's word. If he no-shows you and I'm calling him later on, I'm making him feel pretty bad. Like, what else do you have other than your word? Joe, you literally gave me your word you're going to be there. I know we're in the middle of a pandemic. I know you're done with work. There's nothing to do. And you gave me your word you're not going to be there and you're going to go back on your word. It says a lot, Joe. But I understand. Times are tough. What we got to do is get you back on. So I make him kind of feel bad. But a little side tangent. Either way, guys, like I said, do you see any reason why it wouldn't work for either you or Mary? Great. Second one, with as busy as I am, all the members I have to see, I am a man of my word. I'll be there. Do I have your word? Number 2. And then number 3, it reiterates back. Okay, great, Joe. I just have to make sure, because if we put you on the schedule and we miss you, unfortunately, we're missing another union member from, and I like to use their local, whatever they are, be very specific. From the SCIU, we're going to miss one of the other SCIU members that's waiting to receive their benefits package. So that time is definitely going to work for you, right? Perfect. Have a great day, whatever you guys say. You get 3 solidifications, no matter how good the phone call was or not. If they're trying to rush you off the phone call, you go to those last 3. Don't rush through them. Be very slow and thorough like I was. Because even if they're trying to rush you off the phone, they're going to realize, okay, wait a minute. I'm trying to throw this guy off. This may be actually very important. So you get 3 solidifications, your show ratio is going to go up. Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. We got 5 minutes. So last 2 things I was going to say. Basically, guys, just like some presentation tips. This doesn't have to do with the pitch or anything. Number 1, if we're not using Calendly, we're messing up. I definitely will be honest. I had a pretty solid show ratio throughout this business, and I just used Zoom. And I was one of like the late bloomers to get it. And as soon as I got it, it made such a difference. Anyone I've ever booked, I've sat with. There's been like 2 or 3 people I didn't sit with, And one of them is because I found out over the phone they couldn't qualify, so I didn't run it. Number two, if they weren't able to run the appointment, they still answered their phone and I was able to reschedule them. So even if you have a really good phone script, you're really great on the phones, you have a good show ratio, I promise you, if you use Calendly, it's going to go up. Make sure when you do get Calendly, because we all need it, send email reminders. I have two, one 24 hours before, one 3 hours or 6 hours before, or 3 hours before. And then I have two text reminders, 3 hours before, or like an hour before, and like 5 minutes before. They get blown up. If I treat the phone call like I just told you guys, I solidify 3 times, I make them realize how important this is. You're one of the last members we had to get caught up with. And then their email and their text gets blown up from the second I send them the original email all the way to the next day of the appointment. I usually don't even have to call and confirm people. Most of the time, they're just in the Zoom already.
Well, how many reminders do you send out? 'Cause I know you have options for text and email. What do you use? And what is the
I do two each. So I do an email 24 hours before and 3 hours before. And there's a template for it as well. I got mine from Ashley. I adjusted a little bit. Guess what? Ashley got it from the company. The one like PowerPoint we had from Calendly, it has all that information in it. If you don't have it, ask one of your managers. They'll get it for you. It's only a PowerPoint of how to set it up. It takes 20 minutes, and 15 of those 20 minutes is just setting up the reminders, which is the most important thing. So there's a template. I adjust a little bit, for my own self, but email 24 hours before, 3 hours before is what I do. And then text, I do an hour before and 5 minutes before. And basically in the text, you'll see from the company, mine says along the lines, like proactively, like I would say if I'm running late. Matt has you on the schedule here, 5 minutes, anytime between 5 and 6. Matt's just wrapping up with his last union member. He'll be reaching out shortly. It already does it for me. So they already know that even if I call them in